You enjoyed the scones. Personally, I navigate about Scotland by scones. I know where all the good scones are, and these scones are pretty good. This first breakout session will be presented by Jude Duncan, who's Email Marketing Manager in Shoe. And the title of this might come as a bit of a surprise to you, because I had no idea that email was even wounded, never mind dead. But apparently email is not dead. So, Jude, over to you.
Hello, so I'm Jude Duncan, Email Marketing Manager at Shoe, and yeah, email's not dead. One of the things I get really annoyed about is the number of clickbait emails that say email is dead or how to revive your email, and you don't need to revive it, you just need to use it a little bit better. So I have about 20 minutes and then we'll get to Q&A to go through all of these topics, covering why it's not dead, importance of segmentation, what to do if you have poor or incomplete data, because I know that that can be a problem for some people. Apple's pesky new mail privacy protection, and why the journey is just as important as the destination. So Bluecore recently did a survey which asked lots of people, what would you prefer, how would you prefer to hear from a brand or a business communication? And email came out overwhelmingly on top. And I know what you're probably thinking. You're probably thinking that was older people, that was whatever, but no. Over every generation, email is still the most preferred and most personal way consumers of all demographics engage with their favourite brands. And that's probably surprising to a lot of people because they think that Gen Z are just on social media all the time, or they're just looking at TikTok, but in fact, they just want to be communicated by email as well. Email is something that has become staple during the pandemic. We changed the way that we communicated during the pandemic, and email, some would say, had a resurgence. I would say people just decided to start giving it more of a budget. And I think with that, as well as that email has allowed people to re-engage with brands because people are putting more money into it. The first thing I want to talk about is email segmentation, because email is not dead, but sending the same email to every single person in your database and hoping for the best absolutely is. If you take away anything from this presentation, it's please don't mass spam your database. No one is going to thank you for it, and you're not going to get the results you want. And also, this is something that I say to people a lot, and people get really personally offended by it, and I don't mean it to be, but your customers don't need, want, or care about everything that you're doing. I know that seems really brutal, but it's true. Each of your customers is engaging with you for a different reason. For example, if I was a trainer person, I do not care about the latest sandals that you have coming in, or what kids' shoes you have coming in. So segmenting is super important. It also allows you to tailor emails to different audiences, which can increase your ROI. If you send a trainer head about a new latest drop of trainers, they're much more likely to engage with your email. Less segmentation, you're sending more relevant content, and you're going to get the right amount of email. What happens when you segment is you're probably going to start sending more emails, and that can be scary. But you're going to be sending the right email to the right person. It's all about variation of emails. Segmentation is something that I absolutely love doing. I like to think of it as problem solving, and one of the best ways to do it is to think about your customer. If your customer is not at the heart of all of your emails, then you're not doing email right, in my opinion. And email segmentation can be done in many ways. It can be done age, geographic, clicks, what have they bought, what have they not bought, if they've interacted, if they've not interacted. But I think one of the main things I want you to take away is that not all segments are created equal. I did not create this image, I cannot claim that. This has been around since around about 2014, 2015. But it just shows how demographic segmentation on its own doesn't work. So as you can see, Prince Charles and Ozzy Osbourne are both male. both born in 1948, both raised in the UK, both married twice, both have big houses and are really wealthy and really famous. But I can guarantee you they do not want the same thing when it comes to probably a lot of things. I'm not going to go into that. So how do we segment when we only have demographic data? Well, first of all, you can look at how people are engaging with emails. Are they having a click or are they not having a click? Have they been browsing a certain area of your website or have they not? There's loads of ways that you can look into it. Obviously, I work for a shoe, which is a shoe retailer, so we do it by shoes. Are people looking at trainers or sandals? But I also used to look. I also used to work for the ballet, so do they attend performances online or in person? It's down to little things like that that really is where email segmentation is going. But one of the things I got asked recently, and because I was asked it recently, I decided to put it into this presentation, was how do you deal with poor data and our CRM systems? Maybe you're a new marketer and you've inherited a CRM system, or maybe you're looking, you've got some more budget like I spoke about, and you're going in to look at this. So first of all, ask customers for the data that you want. Now, I know what you're going to say. You're going to want a lot of data from your customers. Please don't ask for them all at once. First of all, let's get the basics, your name, first name, last name, and email address. Most people are willing to give you that for free these days, if not via a download or a little something off. And then retrospectively via a welcome journey. Put a welcome journey in place for more of the data that you want. Maybe that's customer preferences, their age. I've found that if you tell people you'll give them money off or give them something on their birthday, they sign up. More so because that is what I do, love a freebie. And yeah, that's a great way to do it, a dedicated welcome journey. For welcome journeys, I would say probably 3 steps is the way you want it. So your initial welcome email, ask for the second bit of information, ask for the third bit of information, and then you've got to kind of give the customer something before you ask for more. I also work on that basis of if you do newsletters, to have 3 gives in one take. So give the customer 3 things and ask or take 1 thing. Then what I would do is I would separate your complete data from incomplete data. So who has given you the name and the email address? Who's only given you part of that? And split that out first of all. Another way to do it is split it out between good data, bad data, and incomplete data. So when I talk about bad data, I mean people that have spelled Gmail wrong, or Hotmail wrong, or put .co instead of .com, things like that. Separate them out, put them to the side and forget about them. And also, I should have actually just said at the start, opted-in data. We're always just working with opted-in data with emails. Yeah. And then what I would do is I would take your incomplete data and start them on a journey where you're asking them for the data that you want. Hey, we don't have your first name. What's your first name? And then when they send you their first name, then send them an email back right away saying, hey, thanks, Jude, that was great. Little things like that is going to allow you to build customer loyalty via email. And this is the personalization that people are coming to expect these days. But if you don't have it, ask for it. Don't be afraid to do that. Once you have separated out your data into those segments, you'll then want to separate between engaged and non-engaged. So you want to look at people, I usually do 6 months. Obviously, with the pandemic, it's greatly changed. So I would run a little bit more than that, maybe even up to the 2-year mark. Just like I said, people's, the way people engage with email has changed a lot. And then run a re-engagement campaign. And when I say a re-engagement campaign, I don't just mean 1 email. Again, 3 emails. I promise you 3 is not just my lucky number. It just seems to be the formula that I've found. The first one is, hey, we see you haven't interacted in a while. How can we do things differently? Do you want to update your preferences? Do you want to tell us a little bit more about you? What do you want to hear about from us? And again, by saying that to your customer, you're showing that you're interested in what they want. It's not what you want from them, it's what they want from you. Building up that customer loyalty again. If they don't respond to that, then I would send them a second email saying, is this goodbye? If you don't respond, it's very dramatic, yes. If you don't respond to this, we will not be in touch again. But if you want to keep hearing from us, just click below and we'll keep in touch with you. When I get emails like that, I think the brand understands me. Our inbox, I don't know about anyone else's, but my inbox is constantly getting new emails in, constantly getting emails lost in there. But by doing this, it stands out. It stands out that you, again, are listening to your customer and what they want from you, not what you want from them. And then if they don't reply to that email, email them again and say, this is goodbye. We hope to see you again soon. We hope you come back, but if not, that's okay. We understand your inbox is full, you get a lot of emails. I guarantee you that customer will come back. Maybe not right away, but eventually they will re-engage. And I already talked about this a little bit, but remove inactive subscribers from your sends. After that re-engagement campaign, after they've still not got in touch, what is the point in sending to someone that's not going to respond to you? What is the point in constantly bombarding a customer that's not going to give you anything back? Instead of focusing your efforts, your active efforts, on getting them back, focus actively on the customers that you have that are engaging and allow that automatic re-engagement campaign to run in the background. And that means that you're still thinking about them, you're still doing stuff with them, but they will eventually come into that other pool and it's just running in the background, allowing you not to think about it. Apple mail privacy protection and you. So I'm sure a lot of you in the room have heard about Apple mail privacy protection. And if you haven't, it essentially does two things. It's basically taking away open tracking and doesn't allow us to see where the person's opening the email from. Apple are the first to do it. I definitely don't think they're going to be the last. And we're already seeing spikes in open rates across industries because of that. So open rate is essentially not a useful tracking method anymore. But how does that affect you personally? Well, the first thing that you would need to do, or that I would do, is work out how much of your database use Apple Mail. So around about 40% of global email users use Apple Mail in some capacity, whether that's on mobile or whether that's on desktop. So first of all, find out what percentage is that of your customer bases. Then be cautious with reporting on open rates. If over 50% of your database is using Apple Mail, then open rate is pretty much obsolete. And click to open rate is also pretty much obsolete. You can still report on it, but I would be very, very cautious with that because it kind of becomes a vanity metric at that point of, wow, look at all these open rates we have, but how many of them are actually opening it versus the Apple server? And I would, in fact, move on for reporting on open rates to other methods of reporting. Maybe that's not possible because you don't have the deciding factor in that, or various other methods, you have to use it for the rest of the year, but definitely start phasing it out. So what should you track instead? These are all of the things that I think you should track depending on your industry. So click rate, how many people's clicking on your email. Conversion rate, how many people are actually doing what you want them to do, whether that's watching a video, downloading a PDF, making a sale. Bounce rate. So when I talk about bounce rate, I mean how many, in your delivery, how many of the emails are bouncing back. So that's hard bounces, soft bounces. If that number is starting to increase, then you need to go back again and look at that segmentation and make sure you're catching all of those inactive subscribers. Unsubscribe rate. Are people liking your emails, or are they instantly going, this is not for me, goodbye? If you start to get a really high unsubscribe rate, I would really step back and look at your email marketing plan, because once someone's unsubscribed, you don't have the chance of winning them back over, they're gone. Less growth rate. Again, how many people are unsubscribing? How many people are you getting in? How many people are coming to your site? How many people are enjoying your emails? And again, that kind of relates into the next one of email sharing forwarding rate. How many people are sharing your emails with their friends and going, hey, this company's doing a really cool thing, or this brand's doing a really great thing. You should, follow them as well. Revenue per email over our overall ROI. Again, that kind of the same as conversion rate, but how much is your email actually giving back to you? How much are you making per email? I find this one and average order value actually really beneficial, especially when asking for marketing budget. Sometimes when you're asking for an email marketing budget, it can be really difficult to justify why you should give that money. But if you can turn around and say, for every £1 I spend on email, I get £5, £10 back, that's going to, make your argument a lot stronger. And unengaged subscribers, how much of your database is engaged versus unengaged? And that allows you to look at whether that re-engagement campaign talked about earlier is working or not. If it's not working, look at it, figure out where is it not working, where is it falling down, and try and get that number of unengaged subscribers to as low as possible. I wanted to end on this. It's about the journey, not just the destination. The reason I am an email marketer is because I love customer journeys. I love thinking about how a customer gets from A to B. I find that sometimes with email, people are just really keen to say, we're going to send them an email and they're going to do exactly what we want. And the reality is that that's not always going to happen. So what do you do when that doesn't happen? What journey are you taking this person on? When this person signs up on your website or at an event, what journey are you taking them on to get them to where they need to be? And then once they've made that purchase or download or whatever it is that you want them to do with that email, what journey are you taking them on next? Because you can't just abandon them, because why would you? Why don't try and get them back for a repeat sale or a repeat? So, yeah, it's not about the journey. It's about the journey, not just the destination. And I think if you always think about that when email planning, your email will be in a much better place to begin with. So, thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Paul, I work at a law firm called Ashurst. The question I had was, how did you define 3 as the magic number?
It's what worked for me. It won't work for everyone. Sorry, do you mean in a welcome journey or in a...
Well, yeah, in the journeys that you mentioned, like, did you test it, or how did you arrive at that?
Extensive testing over 8 years, and what works for me and 3 works for me might not for you. I'm not saying that if I go and sign up to all of your businesses, I want to see 3 welcome journeys or 3 re-engagement journeys, but that is what I found the magic number is for me in terms of, especially getting people to re-engage, giving them 3 opportunities. The first, do you want to change your preferences, or can we do anything differently? I think asking people what they want is great, and then giving people the option of still not quite saying goodbye, and then making that decision for them, I think allows, I think that's really powerful in kind of just stepping away and saying that you understand that they're not engaging, so we're not going to spam you anymore. With the welcome journey, it's really different. I found that 3 always allows me to get the information that I need. But again, depends on what you're looking for in that welcome journey. If you're not looking for that much information, then 2 could be 2 could suffice. If you need a lot of information, it could be 4. I think it's really just 3 seems like a good number, and it's something that's worked really well for me through testing. There's data online that kind of backs that up as well, but again, it is very individual to every business. Sorry, that's kind of an answer, but also not really an answer, so sorry.
How long, in the old days, they used to say that, things like sort of roadside hoardings and things, you had 3 seconds, tops 3 seconds, that you had to be able to get the message in 3 seconds or it was a waste of time.
Yep.
Obviously not driving into Edinburgh. 3 hours would be fine driving into Edinburgh. But, but how long have you got, when you're framing an email
Yep.
before somebody goes, yeah, bored now.
Oh, you have the subject line.
That's it.
The subject, yeah. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but the subject line can make me decide if I'm going to open an email or not. So the kind of data around it is 9 words. If you ask me, that's too long because most people now open email on mobile, so that's going to get cut off. I try to do it in 4 words or less, which is really difficult.
Give me an example.
Summer sale ends now.
Yeah, okay.
I'd be in there instead of saying our shoe sale ends. Do you know what I mean? Like just short and concise. It's kind of making me think, does anyone watch The Office, the American Office, when Kevin decides to not use all the words to make sentences shorter and it doesn't really make sense? Like, yeah, use your inner Kevin when writing email subject lines. It's going to get people to open, either because they're great subject lines or because they're like, this doesn't really make sense, what's going on? But yeah, the shorter the better, and use that preview line. I feel like so many people don't use the preview line enough. They just allow whatever pulls in from the email to go under that, but the power of the preview line is brilliant.
Can you, again, this is a slightly unfair question, but can you think of a really, it doesn't need to be your company, anybody's company,
Yep.
a really bad example,
Oh, bad example? Oh,
Yeah,
God.
bad example. Don't necessarily have to name them, but you can if you want.
Yeah,
Just balancing the legal implications here, folks.
yeah. I'm not. Bad example. You can easily find a lot of bad examples on the internet. I think that I'm going to talk around this question if that's okay. But one of the best.
Never noticed.
One of the best ways to ensure that you're not doing bad emails is to make sure you're emailing people about what they want. And just going back to that, there's a lot of times where I have to say to people like, that's great and that's a really nice email, but why should our customer care? And I think that if you find yourself not asking that question, then you're going to fall into that bad email trap. And that again, it's about the journey, not just the destination. What journey do you want this customer to go on? And if you need to just ask that question of, this is a lovely email and that's great, but does the customer care? And I think back to when companies do a lot of emails around like our new partner or we've just launched this initiative and that's great, but to a lot of people it can seem like lip service and performative, and quite frankly they just don't care. And again, that sounds really hard to hear, but the hard truths are what I'm here to tell you so that you can do better email marketing.
Okay. David, I'll come to you next, okay?
Thank you. I thought that was really interesting, Jude. Thanks.
Thank you.
An ex-colleague of mine last week sent me a message saying that her IT director had asked, can we add a second page to the email? I know.
A second page.
Can we add a second page to the email?
Okay.
What have you found as successful in educating the business on how to think about the use of email and the best use of email?
Yeah, great question. I find data works really well, so I find that a lot of the time I can go into a meeting and say, I think or I feel, and that's great, but that makes it seem like it's me that's coming up with this. Whereas if I go in and say, hey, I think this, and I found this data to back it up, then people are a lot more receptive to that, and people are a lot more willing to say, oh, well, if the data says so. And that's not anything on you as an individual. That's just on you're taking the personal out of it. Like, this isn't a personal decision that I'm making, this is a business decision. So yeah, I think data is your best friend. And I think not just data that you find on the internet, data of your own emails. Like, there's nothing more powerful than turning to educating in your company and saying, it's not working and I can show you it's not working because here are our figures. I think that's more than powerful. But I'd also love to know what he meant, or they meant, sorry, by a second page in an email. Yeah.
I used to work with a guy who, his nickname was Captain Bombast, but he was a great one for details and what have you, and newsroom had done something that really offended him. And he wrote quite literally a 2-page email, and it was like point 1, point 2, point 3, like point 14 it finished at. And they say brevity is the soul of wit. The then editor of the newsroom responded to this massive email with 2 words, points taken. Shot it dead in the water. So there was a lady at the back there, right?
Hi, my name is Esther. I'm from the Scotland 5G Centre, and I would like to ask you, because you were talking, of course, about the opt-in. So have you done any strategies that you can recommend to increase the opt-ins? So basically to increase the database and making sure that we are basically getting people who are going to receive the marketing emails. Any techniques or recommendations?
I'm going to say something and you're going to be like, that's really obvious, but the amount of companies I've spoken to that don't do this is astounding. Make your email marketing sign up really noticeable. Like a pop-up, top of the screen, like see people that hide it in footer bars or anything? Absolutely not. So just make sure that A, it's really visible. Personally, I love an email pop-up, but that's just personal preference. And if you find that it's really visible and that's still not working, maybe offer an incentive. People always think that when you say incentive, that has to mean money off or a discount. It absolutely doesn't. It could be access to an ebook or an article or, I don't know, a number of things. Incentivizing also really works. Those are the 2 that I would say is the main thing.
The other thing, I suppose, the corollary of that is that as people become more digitally literate,
Yep.
bad communication begins to look deliberate.
Yep.
So, I mean, I was hunting through a site the other day for EE. Now, if I go into Amazon, I could more or less buy a Kalashnikov in 3 clicks. You know, it's not a problem. EE, it's almost as if they're going out their way to make it damn near impossible to get anything done, or certainly to communicate.
Yeah.
So you don't want to give that message.
No, you absolutely don't. And I think that's like, you know, I'm going to talk about a pop-up again. But a pop-up asking for your first name, last name, email address, bing, you're done in a second, you click go. If you use a Mac or something like I do, mostly autofills, which is great, and then get that pop-up away. Please do not take people to another landing page. That's just going to annoy them and they'll wish you not give you data. But also just with the bad communication as well is that make sure you then follow up with a really good email, because if the first email they get from you is terrible, they're just going to click that unsubscribe button right away. You know, that kind of like you only have one chance to make a first impression, like totally the same on email. So.
Okay. One last question. Gentlemen, the microphone's on its way.
I'm Davide from ICAS, Institute of Chartered Accountants Scotland. I wanted to follow up on your point that you made about segmentation and almost understand how far sometimes we can go with segmentation.
Yep.
You were talking about people maybe just be interested in trainers, but what if a big pool of your clients were actually focused just on Nike shoes, for example?
Yep.
Would you go on creating emails just, you know, Nike shoes, and how often would you do that?
So great question about the kind of frequency of them. You obviously want to do it a lot less, but just to take it back a step, when you said there about segmentation and how deep you can go, I always think the deeper you can go with segmentation, the better, but just don't get too scary. You're not stalking your customers. It's always a good sign. But yeah, absolutely. So for example, Nike, New Balance, Adidas, other trainers are available, we do have segments for them when there is product launches or things like that, or things that are relevant to that customer. I wouldn't be sending them an email every week about Nike trainers, just using that segment when there's something that's really relevant to them, so a trainer drop, or there's a new style out, or something like that. Do you have a specific idea in mind that you're asking about?
Yes, well, for us, it's because we have members and they need to receive certain emails, but then we also have partners that provide different services, you know, from cybersecurity to other things as, you know, digital services. And some might be interested in one specific service, but we don't have a lot of content to share. Mm-hmm. So I guess my question was, and I was trying to figure out if sometimes it's worth just doing one email, just talking about that specific service, because a pool of them seems to be engaging with them a bit more.
Definitely. I also think in that situation, an email banner, a footer banner, goes a long way, you know, taking them to a landing page where they can get more of the information. And then that's also going to give you a pool of people that, you know, if you use the UTM properly, you're going to then know the people that clicked on that banner, and then you can segment them so that you can then send them relevant information that they're wanting.
Okay, that's
Okay.
great. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much for that. Can you
Thank
thank
you.
Jude one more time, please?